Hello and welcome to a new podcast. This is the Japanese Gaming Podcast. So I decided to start this new podcast as a way to have kind of a more serious and deeper discussions regarding Japanese games. So it's not a topic that many people cover with any sort of depth, and I kind of wanted to make something for fans of Japanese games by people who know about and work with Japanese games. So of course, it's not our only topic, but the main focus of this podcast is Japanese games. So, that being said, I'll give my co-host a chance to introduce himself.
Thanks, Joe. So I'm Matt, Play Ongo on YouTube, and it may be obvious, but my name comes from playing video games, and Nihongo, which is Japanese. So definitely very pertinent to the topic. Um, yeah, and so thank you very much for inviting me to co-host this podcast.
No problem. I did forget to mention that I am Joe. That's X Corn Muffin X on YouTube. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I think what we're going to talk about today is the new generation of gaming. From this today, actually, is the day that the Xbox One is released in the US, making the complete cycle. All of the new generation of game consoles are now on the market. So today we'll talk about our feelings about the new consoles, things we're excited for, maybe things we're not excited for, and just the general tone of how things are looking for the next generation. So what would you like to talk about first, Matt?
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Xbox One did just release today. Um, I don't know how are you feeling about the I guess the new consoles in general in Japan, maybe each one.
Let's see. Do you mean the latest consoles, the PS4 and the Xbox?
Right,
Well,
right. I mean, yeah, maybe home consoles to start off with.
okay. So, well, we have three next gen consoles. I guess we've got the PS4, the Xbox One, and the Wii U. So, the only one of those is out in Japan at the moment. So, uh, I've only got my general impressions of them at the moment. I haven't actually played the PS4 or the Xbox One because they're not out in Japan. But I don't know. I'm pretty excited for the new generation of consoles. I've got money set aside to buy them, but I'm not sure when the Xbox One is going to be even out in Japan. There's no date, and
Right, right. It's just like 2014, I think.
yeah, sometime in 2014. And the PS4 isn't out until the end of February. But you, on the other hand, already have a PS4.
That is true. Yes. Yeah. I mean, the PS4 I've had since launch. I ended up, pre-ordering it online, and yeah, I've really been having a good time with it. I mean, I actually did a video already about it, so there's some information about it in that. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, just a lot of excitement around having a new console generation, I think, coming up. I kind of forgot. It's easy to get pretty jaded, I think, sitting in a console generation for what was it, like eight years or so?
Yeah, from 2006 was it for the 360 came out?
I think so.
So yeah, big chunk of
Uh,
time there.
yeah, it's been quite a while. Um, so it's nice to have some fresh blood and just remember what it's like when um, you know, n- everything isn't set in stone. The future's still kind of bright. We don't really know what to expect from these systems, and it seems like these companies, Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo, they're all trying something new and different. So it's exciting. I think there's just some real life to this new generation.
So what would you say you're most excited for with the PS4? I mean, you've been playing it, you've tried it out. What would you say is the most exciting thing about it?
Really, I'm excited to be able to like socialize with my friends online. It sounds kind of silly. That's I guess in a way what Microsoft brought to the table last gen. Um, but I do kind of miss the days of just sitting on my friend's couch, us all playing games together. In fact, I mean, we still do that. We'll get together, a few times a year and kind of just, all play games together, and it's a lot of fun. So the idea of being able to, like, take control of my friend's game or vice versa, I actually really am interested in that idea. Maybe a good example is Resident Evil 5, one of my favorite games ever, just in one of my favorite franchises ever. Um, I've managed to pretty much clear everything in the game, aside from one last trophy, which is it's beating. I guess it might be clearing one board on like veteran or whatever the highest difficulty level is, and I just can't do it. And it's one of those spots where you're playing with Chris and Sheva, so if one of my friends, remotely or whatever, we could be playing the game together. Actually, I probably could do this already, so maybe this is a bad example. But if we were playing that game co-op, and I could have somebody helping me get through that, that's really cool. Or even if like one of my friends is just better at the game, if I could be like, hey, dude, like, I mean, I guess having other people get your trophies for you, I don't know where I stand on that. But I'm interested in that feature. I'm really curious to find out how that changes the gaming experience.
You can definitely do that with Biohazard 5.
Okay.
Definitely you can. I know you can. I've done it.
Okay. Well, you'll have to help me out with that board then.
I'm probably the worst person to ask. I've actually like only played through Resident Evil 5 once, and I'm not very good at it. I like those games, but I'm not really good at them.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, unlike you, I think they don't really capture my attention for a very long time. So
Okay.
after I played through it, I actually played through 5 twice, but I played through it once on the Xbox, and then I have it with the Move controller on the PS3.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So I bought when I got the Move controller, I got it as a gift, and it came with Biohazard 5. So I have that.
I played it with the Move just a little bit. I mean, it's not really why I got a Move, but I've got the whole gun set up and everything. You sort of plug the Move into like Voltron or something, and yeah, I tried it out on Biohazard 5, and it was cool. I guess not cool enough to play the whole game through yet, but it was all right.
Now I think I actually prefer the game with the Move controller.
Okay.
It's the same. I felt the same way about Resident Evil 4, and it was like the first game I bought for the Wii, and I preferred it with the Wii control that over the normal controller.
Well, in that case, I have to ask you then. So like, have you played any of the older games, like basically, I guess Zero through Code Veronica, like what they call the tank controls?
Yeah, I played those.
Okay, like, so are you one of the people um that disliked the tank controls, or like had a lot of trouble playing those games because of them, or not? I'm curious.
No, I didn't like dislike the tank controls. I mean, there's a lot of other games that have tank controls. Even like before Resident Evil was even a game, I was like busy playing Alone in the Dark on the PC, and it's got tank controls essentially. So was pretty used to it even when Resident Evil came out originally. So it wasn't ever a problem for me. I've actually since the first Resident Evil, I've bought every Resident Evil game. I just I like them. I'm not very good at them, and I don't play them. Usually, don't play them more than once.
Sure, sure. So, I mean, I guess maybe speaking of motion controls, um, I don't know. I mean, that was huge last gen, and I'm not sure. Um, I'm not sure what's going on with it this gen. I mean, is that something that you're excited about with the new consoles at all?
You know, it's hard to say because I haven't um, seen any real like motion control, like what I consider like hardcore motion control for the anything on the Wii U, and I haven't seen anything like even remotely motion control related for the PS4 or Xbox One. And I say that because even though the Xbox One has the Kinect, they've shown some stuff with like the Xbox One like controlling it with the Kinect, but all the games that they showed are no longer Kinect required. Like before, Crimson Dragon was supposed to be a Kinect game, and they took the Kinect controls out. And Rise was supposed to be a Kinect game, but they took the Kinect controls out. So it's the kind of thing where, like, I don't know. I don't think motion control is really going to be, um, it's not going to be as big, I don't think. And I want to say that I I'm not going to say I'm like a huge fan of motion control, but I don't hate motion control. I have all the motion controllers. I have a Move, I have a Wii, I have a Kinect. So, and I've used all of them, and I've enjoyed all of them. So, I'm not like a huge, like I need motion controls, but I enjoy them so enough to have bought them all. So I think in the next generation, if they come up with some good stuff with the motion controls, I'll be happy to purchase them. But it's the kind of thing where, like, at this very moment, I have almost no opinion because there are no examples for me to look at.
Right, right. No, I mean, I think I would say I'm with you on that, except I wasn't fully sold on motion controls last gen. I think it wasn't until I actually went over to my brother's place and he had the Move with the gun controller, and I essentially realized that I could think of the Move as the gun con for this generation. And suddenly that opened up a whole different world for me. I was like, oh wow, like House of the Dead and Time Crisis and stuff on the PlayStation 3 with the Move. That's a pretty cool idea. Resident Evil 5, I guess it's the same sort of thing. Um, but in terms of this gen, it seems more like it's a kind of a necessary thing now. Like you can't really have a new gaming console, maybe like a big home console that doesn't have motion controls. Like the Wii sort of established that precedent, but at the same time, I don't think that they're selling systems on that point. It's more just a feature, kind of an expected feature of the systems.
Yeah, I actually wish they would take more advantage of it. In some cases, I mean, not the motion per se, but there were plenty of games on the 360 and on the and with the Move that I thought were helped by it. It was fun to use the Kinect for something. Some games, like people like think of it as a joke, like better with Kinect on the Xbox 360 games, but I can think of games that I actually were better with Kinect. Um, Mass Effect 3 is a good example of that. I honestly, I use the voice commands in that game all the time. Like, almost probably more than the controller for any type of conversation in that game. I said all the lines in that game.
Oh, that's amazing. I actually didn't realize that was an option for that.
Oh yeah, it actually is a lot of fun. I didn't originally think I was going to enjoy it that much. I was just like, oh man, I'm probably not going to use these voice commands for because I thought it was just going to be like squad commands, and I was like, well, I can just do that with the radial menu. It's easier. But
Right, right.
and I never used it for the voice commands, but I did use it for all of the conversation options. Like when you had to talk to people, I could like literally put the controller down and just kind of sit back and enjoy the scene of the game. And then when a time came up for me to make a selection, all I had to do was say the first couple words of it, and then it selects it, and my conversation continues. It was a lot of fun, actually. I really enjoyed that.
Oh, that sounds really neat. I mean, it kind of brings the role playing aspect into the role playing game, and without it being like role playing an MMO or something like that.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And for example, on the PS3, I really enjoyed using the Move with Heavy Rain. It was a lot of fun. Like there was like points where you're the detective, not the detective. Well, I guess the old guy, the old detective, I guess, where he has to
Right, right,
fight
yeah.
in the room. Like
Okay.
when you fight with the move controller, it's really like you're this old man fighting. It's pretty cool actually. I really felt like immersed in it.
That's funny how it's more the old man fighting than the young man maybe.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But like it felt really good using the move as opposed to like the controller moving the controller around. Felt good with the move, like because you actually could do the exact hand motions you'd expect to be doing.
Right. Yeah. No, that's good to hear. Especially like I just got Heavy Rain after playing Beyond Two Souls, which I rather enjoyed ultimately, and so I'll definitely try it out with the move controls based on that recommendation.
You should just give it a shot because it was a lot of fun. I had more fun with the move controls than the regular controls. So I think I know a lot of people just think like they hear motion controls and they just think I don't want that crap. But I think that's kind of like an unfair kind of bias because even though like you might not think that some games would be good with motion controls, some of them turn out to be pretty good if you give it a shot. I just think a lot of people aren't willing to give it a shot.
Sure, sure. What what do you think about second screens then, I guess? I mean, I believe that's a feature of all of the consoles this time. That kind of seems to be the motion controls of this gen.
Second screen, yeah. You know, I I think I don't like the second screen. I haven't like had a whole lot of experimenting with it, obviously, but it seems like why do I if I'm playing on my TV, why do I want to keep looking away from the TV to a smaller screen? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Like I want to keep my focus on the game. Like it kind of like feels immersion breaking to keep looking away.
That's true. That's a good point. I mean, I guess with the PS4, one of the things I was surprised about because I guess either it wasn't highly advertised or I just hadn't paid much attention to it was that it has a microphone in the controller. And I guess that's something that the Wii had. So again, I think they were just sort of borrowing a feature. Um, but I found that it was very interesting. For instance, in Killzone Shadowfall, you're going around the game, and it's reminiscent of a lot of other similar style shooters. Like for some reason, I think of Doom 3 when I think of picking up audio logs. That's kind of the game where I remember that sort of sticking out to me. Um, so in this game, you'll pick up these audio logs, and when you play them, it plays solely out of the microphone, or not the microphone, but the speaker in the controller, um, which is interesting because kind of divorced from the sort of the environment. If it's just coming out of your stereo or surround sound speakers or something like that, it's just coming out of this thing that you're holding in your hand. Um, that I think is kind of more immersive than I was expecting, despite the fact that it's kind of outside of um,
Yeah,
the environment.
I could actually see that because sometimes on the Wii it was pretty cool to have that with like I think there was in No More Heroes when your phone would go off it would come through the speaker of the remote control. So sometimes it would be like someone's really calling me, but you didn't like the difference between that and a screen is that like I don't have to look away from what I'm doing on the screen to handle that. I can hear it separately from the screen without you know doing something entirely different.
Right. It's not like you're getting text messages on the phone that you have to then read on the screen or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. That seems a little bit cool. I mean, I'm just thinking of Catherine. If you got your cell phone calls that you have to go check in the bathroom, um, on your whatever your real phone, for instance.
Yeah, I guess I mean I'm not saying like the second screen thing is like a bust. Like I'm sure there's good stuff about it, but currently I feel like nobody's using it in a way that makes me excited for it. You know what I mean? Like There's
Sure,
nothing.
yeah.
There's nothing about it that's when I see it, I think like, wow, I really am glad that there's this second screen option because I couldn't have done that on a normal screen by itself. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I feel the same way. I think it's one of those things that um like it really needs to prove itself. It's not something that has an obvious benefit. So I think it's a little bit dubious. Like, is this really going to be something cool or not?
Yeah, that's the kind of thing where like I'm sure it can be cool. I just I haven't seen many examples of where it's actually cool.
Now, do you have a Wii U?
Not yet. Um, I've been okay. I have a rule when I buy gaming consoles is that there has to be at least 10 games for the system that I want.
Oh wow.
So there has to be 10 games, and they don't have to be released. They just have to be announced. So
Okay.
like the PS4 is already over 10 games, but so even though there's not 10 games out now that I actually want, but there's at least 10 games announced that I want. So I'm free to buy a PS4 as soon as it's released. But
That's impressive. I'd be curious to hear what those 10 games are.
the Wii U hasn't reached 10 games yet. So even though actually the Wii U is like really low on games for things that I want, and I mean I'm sure. Well, we can talk about the Wii U. The Wii U for me specifically, I feel that I'm worried about the Wii U, not in the sense that like I think it's flop, like it's not gonna it's like Nintendo's gonna go out of business, Nintendo's doomed. It's not like
Right, right.
it's not like that. It's that currently it's not a gaming console for me, and I say that because even though there are people like who like Nintendo are saying like, "Well, look at all these great games that are coming out. You've got Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze and Smash Brothers and new Zelda and stuff like that." And I think, well, I'm not a fan of the games Nintendo develops. What's there for me?
Right. I mean, I feel pretty much exactly the same. So I mean, I think it's third party support that I really need, and I mean with things like Bayonetta 2 and stuff like that, that's pretty interesting. But it needs to be more of that kind of stuff, I think, before I'm really sold on the system.
Yeah, that's what like I actually have money set aside to buy a Wii U. Like, I mean, I have the cash. Like, I could go and buy a Wii U right now if I really wanted one. And it's set aside in like a Wii U fund because I know eventually there'll be 10 games I want for it, but I'm starting to worry that it's not going to be anytime even remotely soon. Um, the problem is that I have to really reach to even think of like 3 or 4 games that I want for the Wii U, and I know like you know it's kind of a lot of people who like think of Japanese games think of Nintendo because they are a huge part of the gaming industry. But for me personally, I there's very little that Nintendo makes that I actually am interested in, and it's the kind of thing where if you don't like what Nintendo develops and nobody else is developing anything for the system, it kind of gives you no reason to buy it.
Right, right. No, there's not a lot of compelling reasons, and I'm kind of like I'm sympathetic to Nintendo this time, I think, just because I feel like it's the first time where it's hard. I feel like they're making a console that um that I'm a little bit on board with, just because the last couple few consoles they've made, there have just been things about them where I'm like, why are they doing this? They felt sort of last gen, and even starting from the N64 when they went cartridge instead of disc. I mean, I had a Sega CD at the time, and so that was like 2 generations. You were talking like the next generation after that, they're still going cartridge. They've just made odd decisions, but with the Wii U, I'm kind of like it's still sort of last gen's hardware. I think. I mean, Nintendo fans might disagree with me on that, but but it seems like it's more gamer focused, you know. So I'm kind of excited about that. But I guess, did you get the link that I sent you? It was like a NeoGAF forum post or something about, I think it was the past 10 years and the top selling games in Japan.
Oh yeah,
For,
yeah.
I mean, it was Nintendo heavy. Like, it was just crazy Nintendo. Like, how do you feel like the Wii U is behaving in, I guess, like in Japan, where there's sort of that call? It seems like a culture of Nintendo. Like, am I wrong about that?
No, you're not. In what it makes it even worse for the Wii U, I think, in that like it's doing so poorly. And I say I say poorly because it's always the last place console. Actually, that's not true because the 360 always sells way less. But for for example, it's always way at the bottom of the list for things that are selling. Like it sells about half of what the Vita sells in Japan.
Okay.
And
Oh, the Wii U. Yeah, yeah.
so what happens is like even when stuff comes out, they don't sell a lot. And I think the Wii U has an image problem and a kind of knowledge problem in that people don't seem to know it exists and they don't seem to know that it's separate from the Wii, which is
Okay. I mean, I think that's the impression here also. So I wasn't sure if that was the same in Japan.
yeah, it's very weird because um I don't know a lot of people who have a Wii in Japan, like just random Japanese people. You wouldn't expect to have gaming consoles, and
Sure.
they'll have a Wii, but like I've never heard anybody talk about a Wii U. Not a single person. I've never heard anybody mention it. I've never, and I mean, I go to these kind of gaming meetings with uh, these like Japanese gaming industry people, and so like every once in a while, there's this kind of meeting where everyone gets together and plays games and just talks and networks and whatever. And I've never heard anybody there mention the Wii U. Everybody brings consoles to play, and nobody's ever brought a Wii U. To put it in perspective, like at those events, there's routinely multiple Xbox 360s there, no Wii U's.
Wow. Wow.
So it's the kind of thing where like I feel bad for the Wii U, and I feel bad for Nintendo in that regard because the 3DS is doing extremely well. Always highest selling console. Well, I mean it's a handheld, but whatever, you know what I mean.
Right.
Then you look at the Wii U, and it's like the opposite end. The games that it sells are usually pretty low, and even like the projections for the games are much lower than you'd expect. Like I saw a projection for the new Mario game to sell like 1 or 2 million copies or something, and I think that seems ridiculous to me because it's Mario. He usually sells like 12 million copies.
Yeah. No. It's surprising. Really, just it seems like how little traction the system's getting. It's kind of like the chicken or the egg. The games just aren't going to sell if the systems aren't out there. But I don't know. What do you think about the the Xbox One? I know the 360. I mean, you're saying it's kind of a far last place. Um, it doesn't seem to me personally like Microsoft is doing anything to court even just Asian markets in general. The Xbox One seems so like average U.S. consumer specific. I mean, I guess maybe aside from having like Capcom on board for Dead Rising and I don't know the developer's name, but Crimson Dragon and stuff like that. Like they're still pulling in some of the developers, Japanese developers that they have good relationships with, I think. But um, I don't know. I mean, how do you see the Xbox One being received when it finally does come out
In
at
Japan,
an undisclosed time? Yeah.
um, probably not so good. I don't really know the actual reasons why the Xbox doesn't do well in Japan. And that's not even to say it's doing like incredibly horribly. I know the image of the Xbox 360 in Japan is that it's sold like 4 units in the all of Japan, but
Right.
if you look at the numbers, it's probably about a sixth of the PS3. I mean, it's sold over a million units. You know what I mean? I think it's almost 2 million units in Japan for the Xbox 360. But you think that doesn't sound like a lot, but for the PS4 has sold about eight. You know what I mean? It's not like
Right.
I'm probably wrong on those numbers, but it's not. It is like a. It's not like a ridiculous gap. It's not like the PS4. I mean, the PS3 has sold 20 million units in Japan, and the Xbox 360 has sold one. It's
Sure.
not that big of a gap.
Sure. I mean, there's some arguably popular series on the system. I believe. I mean, the Idolmaster series that pretty much started, and I mean, I know it went to handhelds, maybe the PSP and stuff like that. But that's kind of an Xbox franchise, if I remember correctly.
Yes, that was a really big thing for the Xbox. Idolmaster was huge, and Tales of Vesperia is like I think the highest selling game on the Xbox 360 in Japan.
Now, was that a 360 exclusive?
It was for a year or so, and then they made the PS3 version.
Okay.
But that kind of game, Blue Dragon, was also one that sold really well. I think it depends on like what kind of games you like, and the kinds of people who like shooters like Xbox.
Hmm.
And
That's true here, I think, as well.
yeah, the same. It goes. You think like there's not that many people in Japan who probably are crazy about shooters like there are in the U.S., but they exist.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'd imagine all the like military otaku and like all the people that do like uh airsoft and stuff like that. I mean, maybe not all of them, but I would figure there's a significant portion of those people that are completely into that stuff.
Well, like the thing, like I was saying, I go to these kind of gaming meetings with these all these people, and like a lot of times there'll be like these like professional gamers there, like people who compete in tournaments for money or whatever, and sometimes it'll be like, oh, this guy is like Japan's best Halo player or whatever will be there, and they'll have networked four Xboxes together to play Halo or something. It's the kind of thing where like the Xbox always has a presence at these things where people are always playing shooters on the Xbox, and then PS4s will be there for fighting games or whatever. The kind of thing where like the 360, I mean, it's obviously not incredibly popular, but it does have stuff going on in Japan, and they actually released games for it, but the Xbox One has no kind of. I think a lot of times when people look at it, they think just what you were saying. It looks very America centric.
Yeah, no, I mean that's my impression, and even here, I mean the what I think is working against it this time is sort of everything that was working against the PlayStation 3 last gen. Maybe not everything, but it just that price thing really stands out because when I think about it, I purchased an Xbox 360 last gen. That was my first console. It's basically what I gamed on. I wasn't intending to buy a PlayStation 3 until later. I was kind of one of those people where I'm like, it's cheaper to kind of get your foot in the door, and I went with the 360. And if I hadn't had such a horrible customer service experience when my system red ringed, I don't think I would have been as. I certainly wouldn't have been as early an adopter and kind of evangelist of the PS3 as I was last gen.
I think what happens with the Xbox One in Japan is going to be. It's probably going to. My guess is it's probably going to do worse than the Xbox 360 did, even because I think what Microsoft is focusing on is not something that works in Japan. I think a lot of the time, a lot of the stuff they're focusing on is the use of all these apps for various like streaming things and connecting to your TV and stuff like that. And that stuff doesn't work in Japan. I mean, there's no Netflix in Japan. What are you going to do? I mean, you can't do that.
Right.
there's no deal with the football league in Japan. There's no football.
Right.
It's the kind of thing where like you don't have the same kind of backbone that they're pushing as their main features in the U.S. in Japan. So it kind of leaves the Xbox, you know, seeming kind of gimped in Japan, and you have even more so. You have seemingly less games that are focused towards Japanese gamers.
Sure, sure. Yeah, no, I think it's going to be a real struggle for the Xbox One. But I mean, the Vita TV, if I remember correctly, it sounded like part of what's cool about that for the Japanese market is some of that kind of stuff, like integrating. I mean, not the way that the Xbox One is trying to do, but that there are some streaming video services and things like that. I mean, there have to be like Netflix equivalents.
There kind of are, but they're not. It's not exactly the same. Like Staya has their own kind of streaming video service. They're like Staya is like Blockbuster Video. I mean, that's essentially what it is. If you didn't know, I don't know if you do, but they have
no
like
idea.
a streaming video service also. But still, Japan is still very much a go to the store and rent things kind of.
Get it from a vending machine or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's very much like that still. It's not. Everybody hasn't jumped on the streaming video. It's not like in the U.S. Blockbuster is out of business. In Japan, like Saya is still going strong.
Yeah, no, I can see that. That fits somehow. I'm not exactly sure why, but that seems very seems very much like Japan.
What do you think about the Xbox One? I haven't. Are you gonna buy one?
Um, the Xbox One is pretty much last on my list, and I never say never is pretty much my stance right now. But I'm very disinterested in owning one. Again, I think the experience that I had last gen, it kind of put so much of a sour taste in my mouth. Like even just getting an Xbox 360 recently, I was pretty I wasn't quite sure how to feel about that, but I really was interested in the cave shooters that came out for it, kind of those shmups that they're console exclusives, and I really wanted to check those out. So, for me, it's going to depend on some things like how reliable is the hardware, um, what sort of good games come out for it, what sort of exclusives. But I would see myself probably not getting an Xbox One until the next gen is over, or later in the gen. Somewhere in like the halfway point and beyond.
Yeah. See, I'm willing to buy one as soon as there's 10 games that I want to buy. And well, the problem with that is that I've decided that I'm going to use the PS4 as my main console. So any multiplats get bought on the PS4, and that means that there has to be 10 exclusives on the Xbox 360 that I want to buy. I guess that goes for the Wii U also, in that if there's a game that's multi-platform, I'm not going to buy it on the Wii U if I can get on the PS4, which would be my kind of main system. So
right. I mean, the PS4 is already in my house, so that's kind of the same in the same boat.
yeah, so it's more of a battle for those two systems to come up with 10 titles than it is for the PS4, which pretty much any game that I even think is remotely interesting will go on my 10 games to buy list. So it makes it pretty simple for the PS4 to make the first day list of consoles to buy, I guess.
So, speaking of the games, what games are you looking forward to?
On the PS4 or in general?
Yeah. Well, I mean, just in general.
Well, okay, let's start with the Xbox since we're kind of on that topic. For me, for the Xbox One, I don't have a lot of games that I was super interested in. It seems again that they're really focusing on shooters as their main thing. They talk about Call of Duty and Titanfall and things like that, and more Halo. And that kind of stuff is exclusive to Xbox, but it's not really for me. So the types of games I want are things like Crimson Dragon looks really great for me. I'm a huge fan of Panzer Dragoon, and same people are making it. It looks like dragons, so seems pretty good for me. I know it got like kind of middling reviews, but it's not really something I'm worried about. I don't really care about the reviews. If the game looks interesting and it looks like Panzer Dragoon, then good enough for me. I'm also interested in D4,
Oh yeah, yeah, I forgot about that one.
the Swery game. You know, the guy who did Deadly Premonition.
Yes.
I'm interested in that game. I'm sure it'll be. It looks pretty interesting, I think. And that's one of the games that uses the Kinect. So I think it's kind of a reason to buy it, just for the sense that like it's a game that apparently is functionally using the Kinect in a good way. Um, I'm mildly interested in Dead Rising 3, but looking at it, I feel like already disappointed with it. Even though like because the reason I was a fan of the original Dead Rising was that it's goofy. It's
Yes.
it's bright and it's kind of colorful, and you can spend more time running around putting like goofy masks on zombies than running around in a kind of gritty looking town or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I agree with that, especially even in terms of the story stuff. And this might sound kind of like a contradiction, but I don't know if you remember, like the cultists, like that whole, like they'd started some sacrificial cult in the mall. Like some of the people that were still alive,
Yeah,
and I mean, some of those things, like they were actually very gruesome and just kind of horrible, but at the same time they were played kind of tongue in cheek and just so bizarre that they were quirky and fun and weird. That was definitely one of the real appeals of Dead Rising, I think.
yeah. So I mean, Dead Rising 3, I will get eventually on the Xbox One when I get one, but it's the kind of thing where I feel like it's even though it did get relatively good reviews, I didn't I haven't played it, and I think like it feels like from looking at it and watching some gameplay of it, it feels like it's not going to be the same kind of tone as the other ones. So
Right. Well, it's also a franchise that has lost its creator. Um, Keiji Inafune is not he's not with Capcom anymore, and I think it seems like franchises can survive that. But I think they kind of end up becoming entrenched in what the original game brought to the table, and it seems like that's going to be more challenging. Like I think two pulled it off pretty well, but for them to pull that off in a third one, I think it's going to be hard unless they're able to inject some kind of some newness into the franchise.
yeah, I mean that seems to happen. I think without the creator, it kind of goes downhill in most cases. But it's still like seems like it'll be all right in that same sense. I'm willing to give it a chance and see if it's something I'm interested in or not. But the only other game on my list is Quantum Break, which is made by Remedy, who did Alan Wake.
Okay, yep. No,
And
they're a Western developer.
yeah, they're Swedish, I think. I don't maybe Swedish. But yeah, they did Alan Wake and I think the Max Payne 1 and 2 maybe.
Okay, yep.
But yeah, that game looks pretty interesting. I was more interested in it when they showed the trailer for it, and a little less interested when they said it's connected to some kind of TV show.
Right. Okay, that was the one. That was the one where like there was some big explosion and they froze time, and it seemed like some sort of modern day sci-fi um, kind of a. I don't know if it's a time freezing mechanic that they're using, but
Yeah, yeah, that's the game. So I'm cautiously optimistic for that one. I think it looks all right, and Remedy usually doesn't steer me wrong, so I think it'll be good.
well, it's. I mean, it seems like at that rate you might be getting an Xbox One. Maybe not right off, but possibly in the not too distant future.
Yeah, I'm currently at 4 games for the Xbox One. I can't So 6 more games that seem interesting that are Xbox One exclusives get announced. I'm all over it. But how about you? Anything on the Xbox One you're interested in?
Um, for me, it would definitely be Dead Rising 3, and I would agree on Crimson Dragon as well. Those ones interest me. The other ones, maybe a little bit less so. Um, and I feel like at this point, like I don't understand quite what everyone sees in Titanfall. Um, every time I hear the Xbox One mentioned, Titanfall is pretty much mentioned in the same breath, and I don't really understand it. I asked one of my friends to explain it to me because he was interested in Titanfall as well, and he was kind of like, well, it's like those first person shooters, but you're also able to play like in mechs, or I don't know. I mean, you saw somebody like knocking someone out of a mech or something like that, and I was like, okay. So I mean, maybe just to mix up Call of Duty and Battlefield a little bit when you give it a sci-fi element and throw in some mech. It's sort of like Call of Duty crossed with Front Mission or something, or not Front Mission, but like Armored Core, or I don't know. Um, I guess that seems interesting. But yeah, not a lot else on the Xbox One that I'm really interested in. Like Rise, the graphics look good, but uh, yeah, no, that's about it.
Yeah, that's I'm feeling the same way about a lot of the titles that were announced. As far as Japanese games go, there's not really that much to talk about. I think besides the ones we already mentioned, Crimson Dragon, D4, and Dead Rising 3. And even Dead Rising 3, I think, is not made by Capcom directly. I think it's made by a Western studio. So it's the kind of thing like, it's not really, right now it doesn't have a ton of stuff that I'm completely interested in. So, PS4, anything you're interested for the PS4 that you don't have already, I guess? Or I guess that you do have is probably good to talk about too.
Sure, sure. Well, Killzone Shadowfall, I'm definitely enjoying. It's really nice looking, and it's actually reminding me why I've enjoyed first-person shooters in the past. It's just really reminiscent of Halo and Dead Space and Resistance and all of those kind of games, and I've really enjoyed those. I mean, Resistance is actually a cool series, so so I've been having fun with that. Um, Additionally, I've been really on the fence about Knack. I was disappointed to hear that reviews are not super great for it. Um, but as a game that's coming from the person who helped to kind of steer the PlayStation 4, I feel like it's kind of the showcase for the system, as especially as an exclusive. So definitely interested in that. Um, I will be picking up Assassin's Creed 4. I'm definitely curious to check that out. Um, but I would say probably feels a little weird for me to say, but the thing I'm most excited about right now is Destiny.
Okay.
Mostly because it's by Bungie, and when I think back, I have such good memories about Halo that um, the idea of Bungie doing something, that's not tied to a Microsoft platform, and additionally, I never really got into it's a first-person shooter like sci-fi game. They ended up doing it cell shaded. Yeah, no, Borderlands. I think
Oh,
was
Borderlands, yeah.
Borderlands 2. I think was just tremendously popular, and so I think of Destiny as kind of a like Bungie doing Borderlands, and I wasn't really into that. But the more I see on Destiny, the more excited I get. Like it's really kindling like feelings of Star Wars as sort of a MMO-ish like shooter game. None of those things really sound like things that I would necessarily be on board with, but I'm actually pretty interested in it, and I think my friends are probably going to be getting it, so I'm really looking forward to playing that with them and seeing how that is.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that the vast number of shooters on your list.
Oh, that's a good point. Well, it's because they haven't released like Welcome to Pia Carrot on the PlayStation 4 yet. I mean,
Yeah, it's weird though because like I don't have any shooters on my list. I don't like shooters. I don't generally play any first person shooters unless the only first person shooters I ever play is Halo, and not because I buy it, but because my friends all play it and they buy it for me and make me play with them. So, it's the kind of thing where like I wouldn't buy it and I wouldn't play it if I didn't get it as a gift and I felt, yeah, I don't have the pressure of like, we bought you that game, you have to play now. Yeah. Anything else on the PS4 you're interested in? Any upcoming stuff?
um, I mean, really, that's all that I can think of. But I know for me, I essentially bought the hardware on principle, just because I was really excited to see, okay, what is this next gen? What is Sony bringing to the table? And just what is this experience going to be like? So far, I've been extremely happy with that. Just because it's been a lot of fun checking that out, and some of the PSN games. I'm not necessarily excited for specific indie games, or download only games on PS4, but I am really interested just to see where that goes.
Yeah, that could be good. Most like for the indie game stuff, I'm not interested in on the PS4. I'm more interested on that on the Vita.
That's a good point as well.
So for the PS4, I have a big list of stuff that I'm interested in, and I was thinking Deep Down looks pretty good, though I'm kind of wary of what it's going to be like because it's free to play, so I'm kind of worried about how it's going to look. But the game itself, like the trailers they've shown for it and the concept of it, seems pretty cool.
Yeah, I forgot about that one a little bit. The graphics did look really great on that, but I'm a little worried because it sounds like I heard inklings of. I'm wondering if they portrayed it a little bit not what it's like, you know, that it seems like sort of a fantasy game, but it sounds like it might be more of maybe there's like time travel to it, or you're going into different
Yeah, it seems like it's
realms.
like Assassin's Creed, like
Right.
you're going into memories or something.
Yeah, sort of like, the memories of objects or something like that.
Yeah, I mean it's apparent it's set in the future, so it's set in like 2084 or something, and then like the settings will change, I guess, depending on the dungeon you go in.
Yeah, I don't know. Actually, the more we're talking about it, the more interesting that sounds. I mean, there's definitely possibility, and I like seeing Capcom. Like, Capcom's one of those companies that I think did step up to the plate to kind of do like next gen AAA games. Despite the fact that I feel that Resident Evil 6 was, something that could have been. Uh, it wasn't very good for the franchise. I'll just say that. Yeah, that's an interesting looking game.
I'm thinking, what else is there on the PS4? Final Fantasy 15 looks really good, and I say that being a person who um, I haven't played Final Fantasy 13, and I kind of swore off Final Fantasy after Final Fantasy 12.
Really?
Yeah, I really disliked Final Fantasy 12. Uh,
Huh, I liked 12 a lot.
so
I mean, so not to interrupt, but in there was like a question a YouTuber posted, which was like, what are like games that have consumed you? And Final Fantasy 12 actually kind of came to mind for me on that. I really got into that game for a while.
yeah, I think I played every Final Fantasy game except the online ones up to 12, and I beat 1 through 10 essentially, and then bought 12, and I was just like, I don't like this, and I never beat it. And I did play Revenant Wings on the DS. That's like Final Fantasy 12 Revenant Wings, and I really liked that. So it's weird because like I didn't actually like the main title, but I did like the DS version,
Huh.
and I didn't, and after that I was just like, I'm done with Final Fantasy. I'm not interested in Final Fantasy anymore. When 13 came out, I didn't even look at it. I wasn't even interested.
So what is it about 15 that you feel like is bringing you kind of back into the fold?
I don't know. I can't really pinpoint it, but looking at it, it looks really different. It doesn't remind me of Final Fantasy. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't feel the same way. You know how when you look at Final Fantasy, you just, everybody is wearing some kind of like overly fashionably designed clothing, and they all have like this kind of stylish haircuts and whatever. But it's and everything is, it's like tinged with neon or whatever. It's the kind of like my image of Final Fantasy, of what it's become anyway, since like 7 and 8 and 10, and you know what I mean. But
Well, what was that? I almost think it was an image going around on the internet where it was like basically how all the characters from Final Fantasy 15 looked like they worked at host clubs.
yeah, I mean, I don't mind that because they look a bit more like fashionably realistic. Like they look like hosts, but there are hosts. There's nobody who dresses like the what's his face from Final Fantasy X.
Right, right. Yeah, Titus. Yeah, no, that's a good point.
There's nobody who dresses like Lightning.
Well, I mean, you have a lot of outfit choices in the new ones, so
Yeah, well
maybe
maybe.
maybe there's a couple realistic ones in there. I saw like some nice dresses and stuff.
But the thing is like when I watch the trailer, it looks more the cities look more realistic. It looks like a real place, and um, I don't care if it's not turn based anymore. It doesn't really, I'm not like a person who dislikes turn based games. I actually really like turn based games, but I don't mind that they're trying something new. And since I had kind of sworn off Final Fantasy, something new is maybe something that will appeal to me more. So I'm willing to give 15 a shot. It looks good and seems interesting.
No, that's cool. I mean, definitely, like 15 is kind of a no-brainer for me as well. I think that'll be like a day one purchase.
Yeah, and I was, what else am I looking at? Lily Bergamo, that game, I believe that's a Grasshopper Manufacture game.
Yes.
There's not a lot of info on that. It just looks interesting, and I'm willing to give Grasshopper Manufacture the benefit of the doubt. Generally, I like their games, so I'll give this one a go. Also, of course, the new Yuga Gotoku, the Yakuza Ishin, that game, Restoration, I believe is the translation of it.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's a really good point. And in fact, I mean, I would say if I'm gonna import something for the PS4, that could be my first import. That's another one where I wonder, Sega's been really spotty about localizing Yakuza games for the US, and especially we haven't gotten any of the historical ones, so I'd be really curious to check that one out.
Yeah, I think the thing with that is that it's probably a lot of work for Sega to localize those games, and there there aren't enough people who buy it. And I mean, it's kind of a sad thing to say because like when that game comes out in Japan, it's like it sells like 500,000 copies on the launch day. It's like it's a huge series, but like when it comes out in the U.S., it sells like 20,000, and then no one ever touches it again.
Right.
And that's a problem. I mean, that's not even like the original title on the PS2 sold relatively well, and then like they did that dubbing thing with the second one where they got all those like like Mark Hamill is in it. They got like real voice actors and stuff for it,
Oh, interesting.
but it sold less, and then three sold even less, and then just every time they localize it, the series has gone down in sales. So it's the kind of thing where I kind of see why like five didn't get localized because after I mean, and it's sad that like the last one that came out was Dead Souls, which is not a very good Yakuza game. Um, so it's the kind of thing where
It's sitting on my shelf. I'm
have you played it?
interested to check it out. I haven't. No.
It's not a very good game overall, I'd say, and it's definitely not a very good Yakuza game. But it's not even in general. It's a pretty mediocre game. So it's pretty disappointing, and and I feel like that one didn't sell so well, but it's also the kind of thing where like if it were the first game you played in that series, you would be you wouldn't be like wrong to think like I don't want to play any more of these.
Sure, it doesn't exactly not exactly a good starting point.
Yeah, well the thing with that series is that it's one of the like most involving series for me. I get really into it. Like love playing those games. And when I played Yakuza 5, it was like so good. Like I got so into it, like I'm, playing through and there's funny stuff and I'm laughing out loud playing along and then like something sad happens and like I've got tears coming out of my eyes. It's like totally like you get really into it. And that kind of thing, it's the kind of series that it's just so good. And it's sad that like I think most people just kind of imagine it as Grand Theft Auto in Japan when it's not even remotely close to them.
Yeah, no, it's a very different thing, and I think it was you who basically said it's more like Shenmue, and I was
Yeah, it's a lot more like Shenmue than Grand Theft Auto.
yeah, and that sold me on it because in all honesty, the kind of Grand Theft Auto clone um, stigma, I guess, is what I always held, and I think that held me back from it, like even trying it out.
Yeah, it's not a sandbox game in the sense that like you can't run all over town. You only have like a small map really, and you can do a lot of kind of mini game type things, but you know, it's not it's not a sandbox so much as it's an action RPG.
Yeah, yeah, and it's really narrative driven. I mean, it does have side quests and things like that, but you're really engaged in a like an interesting story, I think, and at least in four, I'm sure in all of them.
Yeah, four is really good, and then like every time that a main series game comes out for that series, I think like how are they possibly going to make it better than the last one? And then they always do. It's always better. So
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Grand Theft Auto 5 didn't take the multiple protagonist approach from Yakuza, possibly. I mean,
eh,
it's the first time they've done that, I think.
no, they did it in four with the DLC.
They did? Okay.
Yeah, it was done pretty well actually. I liked the way Rockstar did that in the DLC for four. You actually had to use all three characters from the each like there were two DLCs with two different characters, but the stories overlapped, so you could switch between the story kind of with those characters. But yeah, I don't know. I feel that Yakuza is a game like if you're going to import something, import that. Even though like this one is a kind of historical one, and it's kind of, it seems to have like all this weird extra stuff that the series doesn't normally have, like farming and dungeon crawling. But I'm sure it'll be awesome because the and I want to say that sometimes the games do have dungeon crawling. What's it called? Dead Souls does have dungeon crawling. It has like a underground tunnels dungeon.
I mean, does it like do you get some sort of like turn-based attacks, or
No, no,
does it
it's action.
does it advance like step by step through the like by grid?
No, no, you're just running around in third person like you would normally through a maze.
Right.
So it's not like a turn based dungeon crawl. It's like a action RPG type of dungeon crawl.
That would be cool though. That would be a fun kind of mini game.
I'm trying to think of some other stuff that I'm interested in. Uh, the Order looks pretty good. It's like a kind of steampunk looking third person shooter.
Yeah, yeah. It kind of had a it was really sort of an old new look to it.
Yeah, like it's the Order
I mean, not
1886, and they have like those Tesla guns or whatever.
yeah, like maybe not like sci-fi steampunk, but sort of like historical steampunk.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting looking at least. I haven't seen a lot for it, but the trailer was good enough to like be on my interested list.
Sure. Now, are you a Kingdom Hearts fan?
No.
Okay.
I'm not a I don't like Disney, so it's the kind of thing where I've never really gotten into Kingdom Hearts. And I remember when it came out, and I was thinking like, kind of want to play it, but I kind of don't because I don't like Disney. But I at the time I did like Final Fantasy, and I was just kind of feeling like, well, where maybe they're gonna do something good. But in the end, I'm just like not really, into it Disney enough to want to play it.
Yeah, no, I feel pretty similarly. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, any, I guess, like overall thoughts on like next gen, next consoles coming up?
I don't know. I think it's gonna be interesting, and I think overall, I think the PS4 is gonna kind of run away with it, and that could be a good thing. And I think, uh, and I say that because generally the PS3 outside of the US has sold like more than the Xbox 360 and like pretty much everywhere else except Britain or the UK, I guess. And
Actually, I almost thought that it outsold the 360 there before uh, anywhere else, or
really,
maybe not before anywhere else,
in
but
the U
before the
in,
U.S.
in
anyway.
the UK,
I thought so. I could be wrong
I
on that.
know it's outsold in the rest of Europe, but
Okay, maybe in the
not
UK in
not the
particular.
UK. I think the UK is like Xbox territory. But
Oh, that makes sense.
the thing is that in the US, the Xbox 360 outsold the PS3 like 2 to 1, and
Yeah,
what I'm seeing now is like the PS4 sold like 1 million units in the first day, and nobody is projecting that the Xbox One is going to sell 1 million units in the first week. So even if like it does, even if it sells exactly the same, it's still like a massive win for Sony in that before the Xbox was selling twice as many. So it's the kind of thing where you know the PS4 will probably sell more than the Xbox One everywhere in the world, like the PS3 did, and probably at least be on par in the US, which will put it kind of over the top for selling more consoles, which means that it'll have probably more support.
right. I mean, I think that Sony did a smart thing, and I guess like I apologize to the rest of the world. Like it's got to be hard just sort of waiting for that new console to be released. And I mean, I don't know really how Japanese gamers are looking at it. I've definitely seen some comments reposted about people flaming and being angry about the console coming out 3 months later in Japan, but. It really seems like Sony is just kind of staging their fight, and the place where they really need first blood is here. I think just because of Microsoft's foothold last gen. So I think they're going about that really the right way. Um, as far as the Xbox One, for me, part of me wants to go, ha ha ha. I think it's going to get crushed by the PlayStation 4, but I don't, and I also, competition is certainly good and healthy, and I think that the Xbox brand it generated a lot of loyal fans. So I don't see it kind of being like a runaway Sony win, but I think it's going to be the leader this gen, and especially kind of like you said, worldwide. Um, even if they sell, even in the U.S., I think that Sony's going to do better overall than Microsoft is this time.
Yeah, and I'm not saying like Microsoft is gonna like be way down, like or anything like that. I think they're gonna do quite well, but I think it's not gonna be like a PS2 situation where like Sony has like 130 million or something and Microsoft has like 40 million. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's gonna be like that. I think it'll be closer in terms of everything else. But what I had said this before, but I was saying that I hoped one console won out overall. Like it wasn't like this gen where the PS3 and the Xbox had like very similar titles for like 95% of their library is essentially the same. I was hoping that like one system would win out in a way that like it made sense for smaller developers to develop for one or the other, and not because there's a kind of niche for each one,
Hmm.
so that we could get a wider variety of games. Like for example, in the PS2 era, you had the GameCube and the original Xbox, and there were a wide variety of games on the original Xbox that didn't show up anywhere else, and the same for the GameCube. So it kind of made having those systems worthwhile. Whereas this time around, there wasn't that as much of a reason to have an Xbox 360 and a PS3, because unless you really wanted some exclusives on both of them, there were 95% of the games you could get on either.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, that is a little bit different between gens, and I think you still had people purchasing both systems for the exclusives, so I don't know that that went away, but it's really just an economics thing, I think, for third-party developers. Um, they kind of end up eating their shirt when they just go with one console or the other. I mean, that's another reason why I'm kind of concerned about the exclusives for the Wii U. But I guess we'll see how that goes. Um,
Yeah, that's like that is an I'm feeling that with you too, because I think the Wii U is traditionally Nintendo consoles don't have particularly good sales for third parties, and even with the Wii, that sold so many units, like third parties seem to be having a lot of trouble selling a lot of games on there. And not to say that no third party sold a lot of games on the Wii, but it's not even close to the amount that sold well on the 360 or the PS3. And with the Wii U selling it like it is, seems like even less likely that third parties are going to step up and be like, yeah, I'm willing to make a Wii U exclusive game. And that does make it seem like there's not going to be a whole lot of Wii U exclusives that are going to be driving the system. And I have a few things that I want for the Wii U, but currently there's only 2 games out that I want to actually buy. So, Ian, and there's like 2 more that are announced that I want to buy. So it's kind of, it's still looking pretty bleak for the Wii U in terms of me getting one anytime soon.
right, right. I need to see the games on the Wii U, and I just haven't. There hasn't been sort of that killer app for me yet. So I don't know. Did you want to talk some about games that you've been playing?
Sure. Let's see. This month has been almost all Dark Souls and Demon Souls for me. I've been playing. I don't know. I beat Dark Souls twice, and I beat Demon Souls twice, and I'm playing Demon Souls again.
That's amazing. So I mean, like, how long does it take you to get through? I guess either of those games.
Not that long actually. It doesn't take for Dark Souls. It's really quick. 8 hours maybe. If I have a general goal, I can just kind of blow through the game quickly. And with those games, I'm just generally making characters. I just kind of give myself some kind of weird theme and run with it. So, like for example, currently I'm playing Demon Souls, and character I'm using uses only fist weapons. So there's not that many fist weapons in the game. There's only 3, I think, plus bare hands. And when you start the game, there's no fist weapons to choose from. So I've been playing through the beginning of the game punching only, and it's not you're not really meant to go through the game punching. So like it takes a ton of hits to kill people, and it's kind of like a weird kind of limitation I put on myself in the game. But I still don't think it's going to take me that long to get through. I think generally a playthrough of Demon Souls takes about 10 to 12 hours. It's not that long. It's the reason I can go through it multiple times. So, and sometimes I can do it really quick. Dark Souls I can beat in about 4 hours if I really rush. So Doesn't take a ton of time to get through that. I've been playing that and Tokiden on the PS Vita and Metal Max 4 on the 3DS.
Okay. No, what is Tokiden?
Tokiden is a kind of monster hunting game that's based on Japanese mythology.
Okay.
So all the monsters are giant, like spiders with human faces, or kind of oni, like giant ogres and things.
Okay. Yep.
So it's pretty interesting, actually. It is a kind of standard monster hunting type of game, but I like the. It's made by Omega Force, who does the what's it called, Dynasty Warriors games. So
Hmm.
the character designs are very Dynasty Warriors or Samurai Warriors, I guess it would be in this case. But they're very like,
For the playable characters.
yeah, yeah. So you know how they look in that game. They kind of look like samurai hosts. I don't, or like that's everybody has like well coiffed hair. It's like
Yes.
it's
I
it,
mean, they don't even really look like anime characters. They're more like they remind me of otome game characters or something a little bit. I mean, maybe just because there's so many guys, like they're like a whole bunch of pretty boys.
yeah. That's pretty much how the characters are in Tokiden also. They're very reminiscent of those types of characters, and so it kind of feels like similar to that in the character designs, but the monster designs are pretty cool. They're all very like Japanese woodcut come to digital life or whatever. But I mean, the style isn't woodcut, but it's kind of a cool theme, different from something like Monster Hunter, where it's dragons and kind of fantasy stock monsters. It's more like Japanese fantasy stock monsters, I guess.
Right.
But it is
But
a
not high fantasy. Like.
yeah, it's not high fantasy, but it's pretty interesting actually. I'm enjoying playing it, even though I'm not like a huge monster hunting game fan. So I don't know. I'll probably put up like a more in-depth review of it at some point, but it is, it's holding my attention relatively well, even though like I'm not grinding that much. I'm not like replaying stages multiple times to get better weapons. I'm just kind of blowing through everything as fast as I can.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, I still haven't quite found my feet with sort of hunting games like that. I have to admit, I was excited about Soul Sacrifice, and I think you kind of sold me on the game, but I played it for a little bit, and I was just kind of like it wasn't really for me.
Yeah, I think a lot of times you'll find that you'll either love the hunting genre or hate it. And like for example, I started playing Monster Hunter and with like Monster Hunter 2 on the PSP. So I guess I don't know what the English for that is, but whatever. Monster Hunter 2 on the PSP, Monster Hunter Portable 2, and I didn't really like it. I just felt like I don't know. I just felt like I'm feel like I'm wasting time with it. You know what I mean? Like the battles take too long, and I'm constantly having to redo them to get more stuff. And I think for some people, that's the draw of the game. It's that you can like you're kind of hunting for rare items and doing these kind of things where like you have this. It's almost like the whole game is a boss grind. Like you're just fighting bosses and you're grinding them.
Right.
And that's essentially what the monster hunting genre is, except like I'm not drawn in by Monster Hunter, and I've played a bunch of other ones too. So like I've played what's it called, God Eater,
Hmm.
and God Eater, I I found fun with other people, but boring by myself. And then I played Soul Sacrifice, which I loved because it took away a lot of the problems I had with something like Monster Hunter in that, Monster Hunter has this kind of like towns where you have to go to and create items and do all that, but Soul Sacrifice is quick. It's very fast paced. There's no like maps to run around. You just have like one kind of, each map is its own kind of one room arena, and you run in, do your battles, which usually take about 10 minutes, and run out. And then you can. There's no like crafting in the sense that like you don't have to like hunt rare items. You know what you're gonna get before you go in, and you know how to get it. You just go and do it. You get what you want. You get out and power yourself up. It's the pace is fast and it doesn't feel as much of a grind to me. So there's no point like in Monster Hunter you can like fight a monster for 40 minutes and then die. Like that never happens in Soul Sacrifice.
No, that's good. I mean, that sounds like a good balance. It's really interesting how, like, sometimes I really complain about how long games take. I sort of feel like my ideal RPG length right now is about 20, maybe 30 hours. But I think you really need to sort of add the caveat that it depends on the quality of the time, because I find myself these days occasionally sinking 50 and 60 hours into a game and thinking absolutely nothing of it. So it's not really the amount of time. I think it's the quality of time, and you can really, I think you can feel when something feels padded out, and I think that's the part that's really annoying.
Yeah, I can see that. I think hunting games, I kind of understand the appeal because sometimes they're fun for me, but sometimes it just feels like too much of a grind for no reason. And that's like a lot of why I'm not like a huge Monster Hunter fan. But like for example, Soul Sacrifice I really really like. So when the new one comes out, Soul Sacrifice Delta, I'm gonna get that right away because I know what it's like, and I'm just excited for more monsters. But when Monster Hunter comes out, I feel like, well, I know what it's gonna be like, and I kind of don't want to bother with it. So
Right.
it's the kind of thing where I guess like maybe it depends on what you're looking for in the game and what kind of games you enjoy. So even if you played something and you didn't really like it, it's possible you can pick up another monster hunting type game and enjoy it. So even if you couldn't really enjoy Soul Sacrifice, I'd probably recommend something like maybe Tokiden or Ragnarok Odyssey or whatever. Is that what it?
No, it is. And at Ragnarok Odyssey, I played the demo, and it seemed interesting. I haven't really written the genre off, so it might just be a matter of kind of finding that right match.
Yeah, I mean, if the concept seems interesting to you, but the game you played, like the execution of it, didn't seem right, there's plenty of other options that are like in the same kind of concept, but have you know a completely different way of going about it. So like that's how I felt. Like when I played Monster Hunter, I felt like I don't really know if I like this so much. And then, I played after that. The next one I played was God Eater, and I thought, oh well, this is better. So, it was just the kind of thing where like now every once in a while some new monster hunting type game comes out, and I feel like, oh, maybe I'll check it out and it'll be fun.
They just need like maids hunting monsters or something like that, and I'll be set.
You should. Capcom has Geist Crusher coming out, which is like
Okay.
uh in kind of anime based Monster Hunter type thing. It looks like it's faster paced, like the battles are faster, and it's more like shonen manga type like hunting type game. I don't know. It seems more like focusing on younger boys than not like eight, I don't think, but more like in your tweens, I'd say.
Right, right. Well, maybe that one would be worth checking out.
I don't think there's any Maid Hunter for you.
No, no.
So how about you? What have you been playing recently?
Let's see. I mean, obviously my PlayStation 4. So having fun with that, and the downloadable games. There were two that were free on Plus for the launch. So those are pretty fun. I talk about them a bit in my video, but Resogun and Contrast. Um, So enjoying those. Resogun's kind of it feels like an old school, sort of an homage to 80s style shooters, where it sort of goes, like, rotates in a circle, and there are only 5 levels, and it's pretty challenging, actually. It's one of those games where um, it seems simple at first, but once you really get into the mechanics of it, it's you really have to kind of be on your A game, I think, the whole time. I had some choice words at it now and then while I was playing, but but that doesn't detract from the enjoyment. Actually, I've been liking it quite a bit.
I
Um,
haven't looked at it that much, but it's like Tempest.
um, I mean, I would say not dissimilar in style from Tempest, but I mean it's not. You're not sort of going around in a ring in the same way that you are in Tempest, where it's like a um, sort of first person perspective. It's more like Odin Sphere or something like that, where you have a board that loops around on itself,
Oh, okay. Like Defender.
like Defender. Exactly. Yeah, it's very similar.
Okay.
Um, let's see. Additionally, I did go back and start playing Neptunia Victory. I finally decided that it would be good for me to get additional endings on that. So I had gotten the normal ending originally, and I've since gotten the good ending, which of course still leaves the true ending. Um, and at this point in the series, I am wondering kind of how I feel about this ending hunting mechanic in these games where if you play through the game once, you get this faux ending, and then uh, you're sort of replaying the game and replaying the game to get to what you're like. Oh, is this going to be the better ending? Um, but it's certainly a lot of fun, and you additionally like unlock a whole extra board when you play through for the good ending. So that was cool. That was fun to see, and I just like those games a lot.
I've never played any of those games. What kind of like what kind of RPG are they?
Well, it's an action RPG, so the characters, like, there are no random battles. All of it's essentially dungeon based, and all of the enemies appear on the screen, so you can choose to fight them or not. So I've certainly run through dungeons just trying to get something in particular, and avoiding all of the like 90% of the enemies. They do come after you, which occasionally they can catch you off guard. Um, but yeah, so then you go into a screen and you're able to run around on a board, and all of your weapons have like an area of effect. So some of them might be just one square in front of you. Some of them might be a whole block. A horizontal slice, not a vertical slice, but sort of like lengthways, things like that. And you're also juggling action points. So not so much like in the second game. I don't think you're trying to build them up for attacks as much in this game. In this game, I actually think you start off with a full action bar, and you can transform into like a goddess form, which you normally only use in boss battles, but you have a lot less of a penalty for it. In the previous games, your action points would deplete the whole time you were in goddess form. This time, it just, I think, takes like a set half of the action points off, and then like you can just really you just refill that with an item, and then you can keep fighting. So that's kind of fun in this one. I think they keep refining the battle system game after game, and for the most part, it keeps getting better and better.
Okay. Do you know Compile Heart develops those, or does Idea Factory develop them?
I really don't know on that one. It's tough because both of the names come up, and I haven't really researched into it to find out. So I couldn't really answer that for you.
Okay. Are you excited about the Vita games that have been announced for the Neptunia series?
I am actually very much so. The first game in particular, and well, there are so many games, like the series has absolutely exploded, I feel like, and it's fine with me because, really I think the games, they're plot based, I mean, and they just have like a ridiculous sort of tropey villain of the week sort of plot, but the characters I think they're just fun and entertaining, that you really want to see more of them in more different things. So what you're seeing now is like it seems like some sort of Idolmaster, maybe like a music game coming out for it.
Yeah, I've seen
Um,
that at stores. It's like pretty cheap now, actually. So, I saw it for like $25 or something recently. At
oh,
that
nice.
Idol what is it? Neptunia PP or whatever it's called.
Yeah, yep. Um, yeah, so I don't know. I mean, like, have you gotten an impression of like? I mean, I guess if it's gone down in price, maybe it's not selling all that well.
Maybe it's possible. It's the kind of thing like I didn't even know it was out actually, and then I just saw it recently at the shop, and I was like, it's cheap, and I didn't know it was out, so maybe it's not selling that well. But
Yeah, no, that could be a bad sign.
they
Um,
did announce like like remakes of all the old ones.
Yeah, yeah. So in all honesty, I didn't play a lot of the first one. It was one of those things where I started it and I was like, eh. And the second one came out so soon after it, I actually started playing the second one and I just liked it so much that I never really went back. So this would be a good opportunity for me to play the first one with what I assume is closer to the battle system from Mark II and Victory.
Yeah, I heard they're updating the battle system for that game for the on the Vita.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm looking forward to that, and also the second one. It sounds like they're kind of redoing the story and making some changes. So there may actually be some incentive to replay that on the Vita as well. And I hate to seem like a fanboy, but I actually would. I feel like I would welcome that opportunity.
Uh, it's pretty good. I mean, I have noticed that there are a lot of those games coming out. Like they keep it. It's like every week they announce a new one.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. They just announced one last night. It was I think they gave it an English name. It was like Planet Destroyer Blackheart. So it sounds like they have the character Noir, who is like she kind of represents Sony's systems. Um, like the running gag is that she doesn't have any friends, and she's kind of she's sort of like a bossy tsundere character. So it's fun for them to pick on her in the series, and so this is like, oh, like finally can Noir make some friends, and they just put up a teaser trailer for it. I guess the next like Dengeki is gonna have some information on it in about a week on the 28th. So hopefully we'll be finding out more about that. But it looks like the cast of characters is probably more personifications of video game companies, which is something I enjoyed from Mark II.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I was actually initially I was interested in the concept of the game. Like I thought, oh, it's got these kind of like characters based on consoles, and then like the more I heard about it, the less I was interested. You know what I mean? Like it seemed. I mean, I've never played any of them, but it just seems like it's not going to be for me.
Yeah, no, I mean I could definitely see that, and it's not necessarily one of those games that I think would be easy to sell to somebody who isn't interested in it at first glance. I don't think there's a whole lot to advocate where you're like, oh, but you're missing out on this great stuff. It's sort of like, no, if it's not for you, it probably isn't for you.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where like generally I'm not a fan of the art style of that game, and what'll happen is, you know, generally with Compile Art, I'm not a fan of their art, but the thing with that is that sometimes they make games that are interesting enough that I'll want to buy it anyway. Um, a good example of that is kind of like Rogue Heart's Dungeon is one that Compile Heart made, and that game it looks kind of the same kind of anime-ish art style, but it's it is it's a roguelike, and it's supposed to be based on the original Rogue, so
Oh
it's
wow.
very hardcore in the sense that like it plays like a pretty solid roguelike game. So when I play it, I feel like, oh, this is good. I don't care if it doesn't look, spectacular to me. I still want to play it because the game looks fun. But the thing with Neptunia is that it seems it seems like I would be more annoyed by it than having fun with it. You know what I mean? Like I feel like it's gonna be, like you're saying, like it's tropey, and I think like I'm not a fan of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, no, I would agree with that. I hate not advocating something that I'm enjoying a lot, but I would concur. Now maybe they just need to make the Neptunia like dungeon crawler or roguelike or something like that, and then
Yeah, if they came out with a Neptunia roguelike, I'd probably buy it. And 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 it's the kind of thing where like only because like so few like roguelikes get made that I pretty much buy any new roguelike that comes out. And on consoles, I mean they're like a dime a dozen on the PC because they're kind of easy to make, I think. But
okay.
they're all very rudimentary. But on the consoles, they're usually pretty nice. So when what's it called Holy Sorcery Story came out, even though I hate the art style for that game, I had to buy it because it's a roguelike.
Now, not to derail this, but like, I mean, I guess it fits in with games I've been playing. I really only just popped it in and checked out the introduction, but the Guided Fate Paradox, I'm not sure what that's called in Japanese, but was that anything you were interested in?
Yeah, I have that.
Okay.
That game, it's it's very similar. I don't know if you ever played ZHP on the PSP.
I didn't. I'd kind of like to pick it up, but no, it's something I didn't play.
The the way that you play Guided Fate Paradox is pretty much the same as that game. Like a lot of the things in that game are exactly the same. Like some of the weapons and the armor and stuff is exactly the same as that game. Like when you see you'll see on the I think it's on the box actually. He's like wearing the uniform where his like legs are tank treads and he has a drill arm. And
Okay.
that is actually like directly from the HP.
That's awesome. I mean, I think you saw in like Mugen Souls some enemies like that were just ripped directly from Neptunia. Same kind of thing.
Oh yeah. Well, like it's not the exact. The characters aren't the same. It's just the system is like almost completely the same. So
Okay. It's sort of like a spiritual successor.
yeah, I think that's pretty much like what I'd call it because even though like it's not a related game, it's not a sequel. The system is like essentially like an updated version of that game. And I read an interview with the developer who was saying that that game they liked that game, but it didn't sell very well because it's like a niche game for a niche market. So it's like a niche within a niche.
Yeah, it seems sort of like niche mechanics with a kind of a niche theme as well,
Yeah,
like sort of the Sentai. Like,
yeah, it's like a It's like for fans of Super Sentai that also would want to play a kind of a roguelike. um, that market isn't like a incredibly huge sounding one. So I guess like they wanted to give it another shot with a different kind of market that wasn't
sure.
niche. So
So I mean, do you like the battle system though?
oh yeah, it's your standard kind of roguelike battle system. So everybody moves at the same time essentially.
Okay. Right. I think I was comparing it to Mage Knight. I mean, that's probably a completely obscure reference, but it's a tabletop like HeroClix style game, and it like similar sort of thing where it's like every time you attack, the enemy gets to attack. Is
Yeah,
that how it is?
yeah. I mean, it's like it's essentially turn based, but I mean not in the way that like you have menus to select from. It's like you move on a square, and when you move one square, all the enemies move at that time too.
Yep.
So when you when you attack, enemies can attack, or when you move, enemies move.
Okay.
It's that kind of thing, like a standard kind of rogue game, I guess. That's except like it's not a standard roguelike in the sense that when you die, you lose. You don't really lose all your levels in that game. Like you do, but you have like a kind of overall level that makes you slightly stronger every time. So even if you die a million times, you'll still get stronger and stronger.
That's good. I think otherwise I would,
Yeah,
I might not be very good at that
no,
game.
I think that gets rid of a lot of the frustration people have with roguelikes. Well, I mean, I think that's one of the big barriers to games like I don't know if you played any of the Shira and the Wanderer games on well, I mean, there was one on the Wii that got localized, but there's a ton. The DS has them, and so
yeah, just a bit. I got the one on the DS and the one on the Wii that were localized, but I probably, and I really only played like a half hour of the one on the Dreamcast. But I just sort of got a flavor for it. It seemed interesting. I was curious to play it, but I don't even think I beat the first dungeon, so I might not have really gotten a flavor for what it's like, sort of clearing the dungeons and that sort of like gameplay loop.
yeah. Well, the thing with those games is that if you don't play smart, it's possible that you'll get halfway through the game and then lose all your stuff and levels.
Oh wow, okay. I mean, can you kind of get yourself into an unwinnable situation? I mean, it sounds like that would be, but
It's not unwinnable at that point, but it is like um kind of a reset to the beginning. Even though you're halfway through the story, you'll have to go back
wow,
to get more items and stuff. So
that sounds soul crushing.
yeah, I mean, you can be 30 hours into the game and like you just like oh, this time I'm just bringing my best weapons with me because I'm pretty confident I'm not going to die, and then you'll go in and the stages are randomly generated. You'll get into like a monster house, and it'll be like 100 monsters will attack you, and you know you'll die and lose all your stuff, and you'll be like, I think when that happens, a lot of people just quit because it's kind of like, you feel like I don't want to do this anymore.
Right. Well, didn't you have that happen recently? You were saying.
Well, that happened like with me in Holy Sorcery Story, or I don't know what the actual English name for it is.
I believe that's it.
Okay.
It's Holy Sorcery Story. It has a subtitle, but
Okay. But there was a glitch in the game that made it freeze when you hit the max level in a dungeon, so I lost all my stuff that way. But that one wasn't horrible because there were kind of areas you could go to where it was easy to kind of pick up some. They had like a special dungeon that you could go to where you could get a lot of items really quickly. It was like after you, I think maybe that happened after you beat the game. It unlocked the special dungeons where you could go and get items really quickly and easily.
okay.
So it
Probably
was
so that if it glitches and you lose everything, at least you
yeah,
at least you've got it.
that was the kind of benefit there. So like I I knew what I was searching for, so it was kind of annoying because I lost like hours and hours of gameplay due to the game freezing. But in the end, it wasn't horrible to go back and get that stuff, so it wasn't too bad. But in some games, it's horrible. So people get frustrated with roguelikes pretty easily that way, especially if you're not really into the genre. If you like just picked up that game and you got halfway through and you lost all your best weapons, like you would probably, like a lot of people I could see just quitting, being like, I'm done with this. No way.
Yeah, no, I could see that being pretty hard for me. I mean, for instance, in Resogun, like at least each of the boards, they might take you 10 minutes to play or something like that. So, even well, I mean, part of it is sort of like dying like over and over and over again if you're trying to do something really specific, like save all the humans, and like I ground sort of through that recently, which was a frustrating experience, but I mean, it was a matter of like a few hours, not like 30.
Yeah, that's like what happens with roguelikes. But when you have Guided Fate Paradox kind of gets over that point by giving you like light powers up every time you go into the dungeon. So, they kind of build up over time. So eventually, even if you were awful at the game, you could just redo the same level a million times until you were so strong that you couldn't possibly fail.
Right, right. Okay, well that's good. One of my friends was playing it, and I think he was complaining because he felt like that was the only way to advance. So I think if that's sort of more um, the last resort than the norm, that I think that could be a pretty cool game.
Yeah, I don't. It's not a bad game. Yeah, I like the way it works. I never felt like in GHP especially. I never felt like I had to keep doing the same dungeons over and over to power up. I just like sometimes you would have to do like the same one. I don't think I did one dungeon more than like 5 times or something. You know what I mean? Like, and that's like
Right.
usually you're dying because you're just unlucky with the spawn. Like sometimes there's enemies that spawn right next to you or something, or you end up in a room where there's like surrounded by enemies or something. And that happens because it's randomly generated.
Sure, sure. And I mean, there is something to be said for games where something is on the line. I think that can really make a game much more gripping when there is some sort of penalty for dying. It's not an unfair penalty, but where you really you can create some tension by an actual end game state that is not beneficial.
Yeah, I think Dark Souls and Demon Souls do that really well also, because it is possible to like collect a ton of souls and then die, and then not be able to get them back. So it's like losing levels almost. It's like I collected 100,000 souls and then I got killed and then I fell off a cliff on my way back and I lost everything. That's a
Adding
definite
insult to
yeah
injury.
that's a definite possibility in that game. Like just doing something stupid for like 1 second could totally get you killed, and then you know that's like a lot of the times when I'm dying in that game, it's because like I'm not paying attention and I'll roll off a cliff or something. That happens a lot.
Right. That's that's got to be frustrating.
Yeah, it's not really though because it's your own damn fault. You know what I mean? Like
Uh
it's
huh.
not like not the kind of
So it's not
thing.
like the game conspired against you.
Yeah, it's not like if I were being more cautious, it would have happened anyway. It's like the kind of thing where it's just like I'm not paying attention or something, and I just run right off the side of a cliff because I'm trying to hurry somewhere.
Right.
And that's like I think one of the points of that game is that it is easy to lose stuff. You can lose everything you've collected or everything you're fighting for pretty easily actually. So
Interesting.
it does make you want to be more cautious and make you want to try to get better at the game because you don't want to like essentially waste your time, especially if you get a lot of a lot of souls from beating a boss, and then you're like, oh, I don't need to save, I can just keep going, and then you die and lose everything.
Yeah.
That happens because sometimes like, and I've probably beaten Dark Souls like more than 30 times. I mean, it's just easy for me to go through, and it's the kind of thing I can like sit down and play after work and just kind of relax with it, just kind of focus on
Yep.
it and not worry about anything.
Oh, that's amazing.
So it's the kind of game where like I just get home from work, and I played it on like up to the max new game plus level, which is like new game plus 7 or something. It's like cycling through the game 7 times, and each time the enemies get stronger and stronger. It's the kind of thing where like
It,
I just can't stop playing that game.
I think the only game I've been like that with recently is Hatsune Miku Project Diva F. That's the same kind of thing where like I'll get home from work and I'll be working on something and I'm like I just want a break, and it's nice because I feel like I can go play that game for maybe 15 or 20 minutes and get something out of it. But I think just grinding for points in that I must have played one of the songs. I didn't like I got a an in-game achievement. Like they have some that aren't even linked to trophies, specifically for playing this particular song so many times. It's probably like 100 times, or I don't know, like maybe more than that.
Wow, that's that's a lot of effort.
Yeah.
See, I don't I don't care about trophies enough to like try and get them all for the most part. So unless it's trophies that are marking off story elements of the game, like I think games like, for example, in games like Fallout, the trophies in that game are almost all quest related. So like almost every
Right.
time you're getting a trophy, it's because you did some quest. So those ones I like try to get all of because I want to get all the stories.
Well, and then there are some where it's like, if you're evil or good or
Oh
like
yeah,
I kind of remember sort of like grinding for my um my disposition or
oh yeah,
whatever.
that was in Fallout 3. New Vegas
Okay.
like that though, which was nice.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I thought those were stupid achievements. I thought those ones were dumb because like it it meant that like you were either giving water to a homeless guy 100 times or you were
Right.
stealing everything in somebody's house just to like get bad karma to get the achievement.
Yeah.
And they took that out in New Vegas, which was a good idea because those were completely useless for gameplay. Whereas most of the achievements in that game were like do this quest and you get an achievement or trophy or whatever. And
Well,
what happens in something like Dark Souls, for example, I don't have platinum, and I think I have like almost all the stuff, but some of the stuff is like collecting all of the certain types of weapons or something, and I'm just like, I could do that, but I really don't want to, so I'm just not going to. I don't care about the trophy enough to actually like bother collecting all this stuff again.
yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I mean, even on a game that you've played that many times. I mean, I guess it's a little surprising to hear you say that, just because I do feel like some trophies, um, it seems like they behave in what sounds like a similar way to the way you're playing like Dark Souls and Demon Souls, which is to kind of give it an extra layer of challenge where you're like, okay, I've beaten this game, now what? And you'd be like, well, I can try to get this trophy, and I guess it's up to the trophy not to be inane, but some of the trophies are like actually lend another aspect to the game that I think it wouldn't have if like I mean maybe if you made it up for yourself that would be one thing, but it lends an aspect to it that it didn't have just playing through the story.
Yeah, I think it does that for some games. Like there's been some games where I've been like really trying to get trophies because like they're interesting enough that I want to like see where it goes. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
what is this trophy? I don't like any. Like, I like trophies that are story based. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like, just playing the game will give me trophies. That's cool. And
Right. Not like Last of Us where you play the story and I think I literally got 5% of the trophies.
yeah, it's the kind of thing I like. What I don't like trophies. The type of trophies I don't like are those ones where it's like collect a million of this, or you know what I mean? Like collect
Yeah.
all of this type of thing, or do
Do
this.
the karate move 150
Yeah, I
times.
don't like those, and I don't like those ones that are like do some ridiculous stunt unrelated to anything.
Right, right. Jump 5 tractor trailer trucks on your Evil Knievel bike or something.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing where it's like unrelated to what I'm doing, and I just like to get it. I'd have to like do something random that's unrelated to the actual game like a million times to just try to get it right.
Right.
And I don't like that kind of thing. I just think that's not really why I want to play the game. Like, but if for something like Dark Souls has a few of those that's why I don't have the platinum. It's just like I don't want to collect all the rare weapons because it's just a pain.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
fun
Yeah.
to
No, I guess I come down on this pretty similarly to you now that I think of it, just because I literally have I think 4 platinums. On PSN, like, and that's it. Just kind of for that same reason, where it seems like there's always a handful of trophies that it just isn't. It isn't really worth getting.
yeah, I think I have some, but they're all in the 360, I think, and it's always for I have like a platinum in Fallout 3, a platinum in Fallout New Vegas, and like, platinum. I think I have like a platinum in Red Dead Redemption, and
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's not a platinum on the PS on the Xbox, but
Right, but like 1,000 gamer score or whatever you get.
yeah. And there's a couple of games I have it on, but I don't usually go out of my way to do that. And
Right.
and if there's all like a ton of collection trophies, then I'm just not doing it. Like I have like a 990 gamer score in Halo Reach, and
Okay.
the last 10 is like to reach some ridiculously high level in online play, and I'm just like, I am not doing that. Nope.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the online trophies too. They really make it tough if you're like I normally have zero interest in online play like that. So
Yeah, so and anything like that, I'm just like, I could play it to get the complete achievements, but it's just not worth it to me. I just don't care.
yeah, I mean, how many other games do you have to play that
Yeah,
you want to play?
I don't need I don't need to have a platinum or a perfect gamer score or whatever. It's not important to me, and those trophies and gamer points don't do anything for me.
Right.
I mean, if they're for something interesting, I'll do it. If it's not for something interesting, I probably won't do it.
Right. Well, I feel like we've talked a really long time here.
Yeah,
Um,
we have probably about 2 hours, but that's a pretty normal for a regular podcast. So we can, you know, can probably end it here.
okay.
Anything final you want to say?
Um, I guess in closing, I guess just for me for the new systems, I'm definitely excited for the PlayStation 4, and actually, I'm glad that you reminded me about stuff like Final Fantasy 15 and stuff like that. I'm definitely looking forward to. So, just I think I'm gonna be picking up just a game for it here and there. I'm gonna try not to go super crazy. Um, Probably with upcoming games, I'd say I'm most excited for stuff on the Vita. I think that it has a lot of Japanese support, and in all honesty, the Vita TV seems really interesting. It's a little hard for me to tell if people that are importing it are really going to be getting a good deal or not. And I'm certainly hoping that they release it in Western markets. But I'm curious to see. I mean, if I just end up playing these games on my portable Vita, that's cool. But I'd like to have some way of playing them on my TV if I can. So I'm gonna kind of see how that goes. But yeah, I'm not pessimistic about kind of the upcoming gen. I'm actually pretty excited.
I am with you on that. Almost exactly with you on that.
Okay.
A lot of the stuff I'm excited for is handhelds. I'm super excited for handhelds. The Vita especially because of being able to play PS4 games on the Vita via remote play. And like generally, if I could play everything on my handheld, I totally would because um, I just kind of prefer the handheld. I just like to curl up in a little ball on a beanbag chair and play my little screen. I don't really need a big screen. I want to play a game and be comfortable. And
Right.
the Vita is perfect for that. I mean, especially because of the connection with the PS4. So that's like a total. I mean, if I didn't already have a Vita, I would totally be buying one just for that. But
That's cool. I mean, I tried out the remote play. It was pretty cool. I played some Killzone on
yeah,
it. It was neat.
and I think like that and the new systems, I'm pretty excited for the PS4 when it comes out, and maybe there'll be enough games announced for the Xbox One before it comes out in Japan that I'll also get that. And I'm really hoping that somebody announces something for the Wii U.
Right, right. I'm on board with you there.
I, you know, it's, I really honestly want to buy a Wii U. Like I, like I said, I have the money set aside. It's just sitting there waiting to buy a Wii U. And every day I think like I could just go buy the Wii U right now and play Zombie U and Wonderful 101 right away. And then I think then after I play those, I'll never touch it again because there's no other games that I want that are out right now.
You know what I want on the Wii U, which they'll probably never do, um, is a really nice Pokemon RPG.
Yeah,
Like for
I'm not a
I don't know.
Pokemon fan, so I don't. that doesn't appeal to me. But I think like it doesn't seem unrealistic. I mean, they changed the new Pokemon to 3D models. I don't see why they couldn't just kind of upscale it with the same kind of you know cell shaded look and make a Wii U game. But who knows? I mean, that would probably be a system seller at least.
Yeah, no, I feel like it. I mean, I feel like I'd get it for that.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I wouldn't, but I mean, I will get it for Fire Emblem
Yep,
whenever that comes out.
that would be enticing as well.
So, I mean, there will be a Fire Emblem, and I will get it. And I guess that it's SMP cross Fire Emblem. So that's like
Oh yeah.
that's perfect for me. I mean, even if there's not 10 games out, when that game comes out, I'll be buying a Wii U.
Okay,
But
so there is a system seller.
yeah,
Right.
that's like a system seller that I'll get and play, and then immediately regret having the Wii U after that because I have nothing else to play.
Collect dust in the closet.
Yeah, that's that's what I'm afraid of, and it's all because like the only Nintendo developed games I like are those developed by Intelligent Systems. So it's like if they made another Cubivore, I'd be all over that. But if it's gonna be Mario and Zelda, no thanks.
Right. Right.
So,
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that.
yeah, the next gen, I hope, I hope everybody gets a lot of exclusives. That's what I want. I want each console to have its own flavor. So I know what to expect. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean I like that. I guess the only part where I would disagree with that a little is it last gen it did pain me to feel like I have a PS3 and I can't play Mass Effect or some of those things, and then when they finally, I mean, I guess it's not a good example because I don't actually have the Mass Effect trilogy for PS3, but the fact that I am capable of getting it hurts me. So I agree with you. Like I want there to be healthy competition, and I want the three systems that are out now to kind of thrive. I don't really want any of them to disappear because I think they all have their places. It's just um, you know
Well, I just
whether
want
they
those
find them.
places that they have to be strengthened. You know what I mean? Like I
Sure.
want each. There, I'm not. I'm saying I want to buy all those. I want to buy all three consoles. Essentially, I want to buy all three, and I want each one to be different enough that it warrants me having all three.
Right. I want to buy a PS4 and a Wii U. We'll leave it at that.
Oh, hating on the Xbox. But no, I want an Xbox One because I want the updated Connect Fitness. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Is that like are you doing that?
Yeah, no, I have what's it called?
Like UFC or
No,
anything or
Your Shape 2012,
okay.
and it's good. I enjoy it, except it doesn't work all the time. So I was hoping that the new Xbox would fix the problem where like anything on the floor doesn't work.
Right. I mean, just from a couple of reviews I've read, I mean, it sounds like that's one of the complaints they're still levying against the Kinect is they're like, yeah, it's good when it works, but I mean, that's just sort of initial, who knows how that's going to go.
That's the only downside, but I like it for what it does, what I can do with it, and I'm pretty excited for the PS4 because it's going to be my main system. But I want more games on the Xbox One so that I can also get one because there are things on the Kinect that I enjoyed, and I would like to see more of those kind of expanded on the Xbox One.
Sure, yeah, that's cool. I mean, like I said, I'm not saying never on that.
And I'm just hoping that somebody comes up with something that makes me buy a Wii U
Yeah,
because right now, I mean, I'm sure like it's probably like people are gonna think that we've just been bashing the Wii U this whole time. But I honestly
no,
want.
I mean, I'm like I said, I'm sympathetic to Nintendo. I feel like for the first time in a really long time, I'd like to see the Wii U. Like I'm just saying, Wii U, tell me why I need to buy you.
Yeah,
That's all.
that's how I feel. It's like it's not even like that. It's one step further from me. It's like I have the money right set out to buy you. Just
Yeah.
give me the reason, give me the
Yep.
go ahead. But it it just hasn't come yet. And every time there's a Nintendo Direct, I'm like, all right, this is going to be the time where they announce some games I totally want, and it never happens.
Right.
Like my
Right.
list of games I want for the Wii U hasn't changed in months. It hasn't. I haven't added anything.
Yeah, it's weird. It's just odd.
Yeah, it makes me. It's not like I think like, oh, the Wii U sucks. It's that I think like Nintendo is not doing good at supporting getting third parties to support their console, and it's bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's about it for the consoles of the next generation, or I guess the new generation, we'll say.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so I guess yeah, that should about end it. Next time we should talk about portables.
Definitely. Yeah. And I'd love to talk about what I'm playing on the Vita or like stuff that's coming up for it, and the 3DS too. I think that's a good topic.
Yeah, so yeah, I guess you can consider this the end of part one of our two-part next generation console podcast.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining in on the first episode. I hope that this was enjoyable for everyone.
Yeah, I do too. And this is our first first episode, so it can only go up from here.
Right. Right. Exactly.
So, all right.
All right.
So,
Well. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Joe, for having me on.
no problem. And I guess thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.